The construction of the first stone Kremlin on Borovitsky Hill began in 1367. It took 1 year. It was built of white limestone which was delivered from volatile quarries that are located 50 miles from Moscow. The weight of the brought limestone exceeded 112,000 tons. In the 15th century, the limestone walls could no longer take part in commanding defensive functions. Tsar Ivan III ordered the old dilapidated walls to be demolished and replaced with brick ones. Construction of the new walls began in 1485. For more than 10 years, more than 100 million bricks have been applied to the wall. To deliver this amount of bricks, it took more than 1 million cart rides. Moat, a deep, wide ditch surrounding a castle, fort, or town, typically filled with water and intended as defense against attack. In 1508, on the territory of Red Square, they dug the Alevizov Moat, which was 36 meters wide and 8 meters deep. Its walls were lined with bricks. Let's first take a look at the moat and see the plans of the Kremlin in the 16th century. The most famous of them is Sigismund's plan for Moscow in 1610. The plan was drawn up by Johann Gottfried and engraved by the engraver Luca Kilian in accordance with the privilege of the Polish and Swedish King Sigismund III. The plan depicts Moscow within the modern Garden Ring. It's categorized by great accuracy in this regard. Here's another plan of the same period drawn up during the reign of Boris Godunov. Atlas of Blavian Geography, where parts of the plan show the moat. Other plans don't show it nowadays. Some alternative researchers say that such moat couldn't have existed. Let's check whether this moat could exist in this terrain. Now, the elevation of this site where the tomb of the unknown soldiers located is 142 meters above sea level. The center of Red Square near the mausoleum is at an altitude of 154 meters above sea level. Moreover, the elevation behind St. Basil's Cathedral is less than 130 meters above sea level. We have a hill about 12 meters high, but if you dig a channel 15 meters long, the water will definitely come from the Neglinaya Moscow River. It's a possible theoretical channel. However, how did 15 meters of soil form on Red Square? No one has explained that to us. Let's go back to the Kremlin walls. You might think that the brick Kremlin as it is now has been standing for about 500 years. But it isn't like that at all. Let's see what has been reconstructed over the past 200 years. Vodosvodnaya Sviblova Tower was built in 1488. In 1805, this tower, which was in danger of falling down, was dismantled to the foundation. In 1807, it was erected again. Tainetskaya Tower was built in 1485. In 1770, part of the Kremlin walls where the Tainetskaya Tower was, and 4 others, were dismantled to make room for the new Kremlin Palace, designed by Vasily Bazynov. Several years later, Catherine II abandoned the project and a low tower was erected in its previous form, according to the drawings of Matvey Kazakov. Sparskaya Tower was built in 1491. In 1624, Russian architect Bazin Ogatsov and English master Galloway built the tower with a multi-tiered top, ending with a slate marquee and stationary clocks. Nikolskaya Tower was built in 1491 as well. In 1812, the French retreating from Moscow blew up the tower. In 1816, it was restored by the architect Osip Bove. Now, let's put aside the official nonsense and go back to the beginning. The new brick Kremlin was built around 1870. Into the middle of the 19th century, there was no brick Kremlin. Most towers didn't exist. There were no battlements. There were no real paintings depicting the Kremlin. Moreover, all the paintings and plans for the Kremlin were made in the 19th century. So, what was standing on top of this place? There was a huge, mud-covered bastion. Why did I decide that? Look at this unique photograph from 1852. a view of Alexandrovsky Garden. What do we see? We see a palm tree in the foreground. I'm sure a palm tree in Moscow won't surprise anyone. But let's go further. Look at the wall made of white blocks. It had to be rebuilt during the reign of Ivan III. It must have been made of bricks and stood on this spot for 400 years. Here's a recent photo of this place. However, in the photos of 1870s, everything is as it should be, brick walls. In 1870, the current ramparts were built. Now, let's go for a walk to the historical museum in the center of Red Square. This place is the largest backfilled area. Currently, the height difference between the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier and the mausoleum is about 12 meters. Roughly, the entire Red Square, a 12-meter hall. However, we think it's possible that it was filled with 12 to 18 meters. Moreover, 5 meters of soil had to be removed in the Alexandrovsky Garden. Here's a photo from the excavations of our time. They excavated the walls near the mausoleum. The wall goes down more than 10 meters. They didn't dig any further. They called it the side wall of the Alevizov Moat, but it isn't. So this is the actual wall of the ancient bastion that extends within Red Square. Therefore, the wall that we all know was rebuilt in the 19th century. If you remove the soil of a Stratnaya Square to a depth of 15 meters, we will see the ancient actual wall and the underground part of St. Basil's Cathedral. But no one will do this, because the Kremlin is a symbol invented by Muscovy and it must have an original appearance. In no case should it look like a star fortress or a European bastion. Muscovy is an alternate name for the Grand Duchy of Moscow, a Russian principality of the late Middle Ages centered on Moscow and the predecessor state of the Tsardom of Russia in the early modern period. It was ruled by a branch of the Rurik dynasty, which had reigned in Kievan Russia since its foundation. Here's a side view of the Moskva River. This section of the wall didn't exist until the 19th century. Look here at the inclination of the wall. This inclination indicates the bastion was either lightly sprinkled with soil or the old lining has been completely stripped. So it would never occur to anyone that there was a wall there. This is the view from the other side. All the lower towers have been remade. Also, behind the towers, we see the slopes of the former wall. Here I will make a small model of the Kremlin, or the Kremlin ancient bastion as it actually looked before backfilling. Therefore, it was covered with soil to fool us all. We have never had such a Kremlin. It was an ancient bastion that was hidden by brick walls.